welcome back, everyone, to another No Idea podcast. This is podcast number 3. Man, this is awesome. And joining us today, featuring Jimmy Maier. This is awesome. This guy. So if you're listening to the podcast, Jimmy Maier is joining us, and today it's going to be awesome because today, as we're recording this right now, it is 59 degrees, I think.
Somewhere in there.
Everybody's chomping at the bit to get their grills, their smokers out because it's time. It's grilling season in Wisconsin, especially after the winter we've had. So again, welcome. If you're joining us, this is the No Idea podcast. And if you haven't yet subscribed, we'd love for you to subscribe to our No Idea YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts as well. We are so happy and glad that you are tuning in on this beautiful, gorgeous day. So Adam, Jimmy really is your friend. I mean, I know him, but he's your friend. Why don't you...
Worked with you for a while. You're retired now.
Right.
And so what are you doing now with retirement? And I mean,
well, trying to get more and more into the barbecue thing. For years and years, I've been in some different barbecue competitions and got certified as a Kansas City Barbecue Society judge years ago. Did some of that. And next month, be heading down to Memphis to judge the international championships. Got certified for that back in November. Also, I have some Western Wisconsin tailgate grilling tournaments this summer. There's 3 of them on the docket. So getting different sponsors lined up and teams lined up and getting as much grilling and barbecuing in as possible. And trying to get some people hooked up with some gear that they actually can use and have fun with.
Yeah.
So did you get any hunting in?
Oh, yeah. Always in the fall, try to get in some duck, pheasant, grouse, and some regular gun deer season, and put on some miles. Slow in some of them. Pheasant was a little slow this year. We shot some. Grouse was good. Woodcock was phenomenal, and ducks were good as always, solid.
So how's retirement treating you? How many years have you been retired now?
I've been retired now 2.
Okay.
And I like to say all I did was transfer some of my hobbies into more time involved, which I hope most of you can do when it comes to the fishing and the hiking. I love scouting. Scouting is one of my favorite things. Just getting out there and finding the best places is as much fun as actually doing it, I think, some of the time. Some of the younger people don't think so, and you spend a lot of time wasted, but no, it's never wasted when you're outside doing that fun stuff. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, Adam.
Yep. We're going there, right? We're going maple syrup.
Yeah.
What did you
do last night? How you doing? You have like that morning voice, that deep morning voice going on right now.
It was 3:45, I think, when my head hit the pillow.
Boom! 3:45.
Yeah.
How many gallons did we get through the evaporator?
Well, so last night was the end of the season. It was the end all be all party, and the syrup was so dirty, we figured we kind of got a little trick where when you try to get as close to finish in the pan, then dump it off and put it in a bucket and let it sit for a week so it settles out a little bit, and then take off that last half gallon of water and then just run it through the filter so much better. So ended up with about 35 to 40 gallons, I think, is where we were at. So pulled the taps probably a week too early. I think we could have got another 10 gallons, but it was such a late, fast run for us this year that something that quick and intense, you run out of wood, you run out of patience, you run out of just kind of everything. So pulled the taps on Monday and Tuesday, and here we are on Sunday, all done and tired. So
we got to divvy up that maple syrup. It was beautiful.
It was
maple
some
syrup too.
Beautiful maple syrup. We got a really cool picture with I think there's 11 total cooks, and it's the first cook is that beautiful amber. Yeah. Oh my gosh, is it just golden color.
Perfect color, yeah.
And then it just, the last batch you could hardly see through.
Yeah.
It was just, it was dark. So that's that. But like you said, now it's on to the next adventure, and summer's coming up. So, hopefully, and I work with Jimmy here. I want to use some of that maple syrup and some type of barbecue sauce. I mean, the kids love it, but I'd really like to get, I just don't have that barbecue recipe yet that I can really own. So I'd like to play around with something that I can really kind of own with that maple syrup.
There's actually place just north of here that he gave me some samples a couple years ago, and he doesn't put it on the market, but he wants to have individuals and teams use it for things, and he does a pepper-infused maple syrup off of his, and it's got some really nice flavors in it, and it works well with a lot of different things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, take us in anything into the news here this week or any
So we got the dumbass news, the people who have
outdoor dumbasses.
Dumbasses who have no idea. But then we also have another interesting one. We'll start with that one first. This just came out. President Biden. I always hate talking politics, but hey, President Biden has introduced a 30 for 30 plan, and it has some significant ramifications for us hunters and anglers. And the 30 for 30 plan, just for those who are listening in and watching and you don't know exactly, but President Biden's 30 for 30 initiative, it's also known as America the Beautiful, and this program aims to conserve 30% of America's lands and waters by the year of 30, hence 30-30. And according to the U.S. Geological Survey, only about 12% of the United States land mass right now and 23% of its sovereign waters are currently protected. But, and we know this here in Eau Claire, as you just drive around and things just keep going out and out with the urban sprawl, climate change, fractured habitat, natural resources. Experts say that this is what is super necessary to do. So President Biden did not coin the phrase 30 for 30. That actually came from scientists who proposed this back in 2019. And this is a pretty lofty goal. That's basically 8 years from now, have 30% of land mass and waterways accessible to us. Thoughts?
Well,
that's good.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially for the outdoor people in general, because, for instance, north of here in the Chequamegon National Forest, there's a lot of tourist areas which have been booming over the last 30, 40 years, and people want their toys to be able to be used, everything from ATVs to high-powered boats to you name it, and there's been some real dogfights in townships and areas to not sell properties to developers who want to build big condos, big resorts, big basically properties that are money makers rather than leaving them the way they are, where you can take a canoe or a kayak out, you can take and hike a back trail without having an ATV run you down. And there's been some real interesting town board elections because of that. And some have been for the sports people and some have been against them. And unless the state or federal government step up and actually put a little bite behind what you can't buy and you can't purchase, every area is looking to make money in one way or another, and it's going to be taxes or it's going to be some way of selling property off to make money, and all of our best access goes away in a hurry. It just gets gobbled up.
One of the things that I've been following is there's this argument too about I come in, I buy a ranch or I buy 50, 60 acres, and there's a river or a creek that runs through it. Who owns it?
Right, the access point. Out west, it's already, in the western U.S., it's already an issue of you better be in the water, and then now do you have the rights to that individual water?
Can I walk down a stream with my waders on fly fishing, or am I touching somebody else's property? Or what about a tuber or canoers that aren't touching the actual ground, but they're in the water? And it's a huge issue. People are coming in saying, well, now that I bought this for $2 million, it's mine. So the nice thing about this is fascinating. Is it's got a lot of support from people such as the NRA has signed on to it and said they're all in to backcountry hunters and anglers to the TRCP. But there are some that are not for it. For instance, the governor of Montana said they will not participate in this because he said it's long on philosophy, but it lacks detail. So he thinks Biden administration is out of jurisdiction. But I just think, I don't know, it's not as simple as this, but I just think more access for hunters and anglers, the better. It's kind of a win-win, wouldn't you think?
You'd think. I try to talk about it every show, is that conservation, the word conservation. You can call yourselves an outdoorsman or outdoorswoman, but that would also encompass maybe somebody who drives a 700cc four-wheeler or something like that, where that could actually do more damage. And so yes, there's outdoorsmen, there's conservationists, and I like to, again, try to think that I'm at least striving to be. I know I'm an outdoorsman, but I at least strive to be a conservationist. And this seems like something that would, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, that if you're going to get into if you have an axe to grind in the political spectrum, yeah, you're probably going to be able to pick it apart, maybe, and it might create some issues. But I think it sounds, you get support on both sides of the aisle. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer, especially if you're a conservationist, a true care about the land, the animals. I'm not saying care about, we're still hunters, and that's why we're caring about it, is to protect that.
And if you look back in history, way back to Teddy Roosevelt, he was the one who started to push for national parks, and he got all kinds of pushback back then to basically, and now people from around the world marvel at some of our natural resources that we saved in some of our parks, and they have access to the public. And every state's got their own philosophy, but ultimately, if you can do a nationwide push and get chunks here and chunks there, it can only be a positive in the long run, because 30, 40, 50 years from now, people might look back and say, I'm glad they saved that area because it could have been gone within 5 years.
Yep. And now, now they're saying that the big work is ahead of us, where we need to get to the table, all these listening sessions happening around the country, because now what they have to figure out is okay, like, what land do you want conserved? What parts of the country do you want to be in this whole act and conserved? So that's a big debate, and restore what kind of landscapes and where do we want these particular healthy wildlife populations to be at. So just something a little interesting to, it's always good to know what's happening, both at the federal level that trickles down into the state, and then your local politics as well. So, all right, here it is. Just dumb people that have no idea.
The outdoor dumbasses.
Yeah, the dumbest poachers.
Here we go.
The dumbest poachers of 2021. Now, poaching, obviously, you're just dumb in the first place. But we'll get to the reason why they are the dumbest. But this January, Devin, Taylor, Jacob, Dylan, and Austin pleaded guilty to 48 wildlife violations in western Iowa's Ida County Court. According to the press release from the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, state conservation officer said that evidence showed that these individuals shot wildlife out of season over bait from vehicles without proper tags. The investigation began, as always, with a tip-off. So they executed search warrants in their homes of Iowa, and they discovered evidence. Initially, we were going on an illegal wild turkey tip as a basis for the search warrant, and then doing this search warrant, we came across illegal activity in plain view, which led to another search warrant. These men racked up $83,000 in fines. They've lost some of their precious rifles. They pleaded, one guy alone was guilty on 23 citations with fines and damages totaling $37,000 and a minimum 7-year hunting license suspension. Holy crap. 5 rifles were taken, 3 shotguns, and 3 bows were used in the poaching. Now, here's where the dumb part comes. I mean, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
It goes on to say, I'm not sure what the end game was. They had a Facebook group. They created a Facebook group, like a Hunting Outdoors Facebook group, and they were posting a lot of these photos on that group page.
Jesus.
But no evidence of them selling or profiting from the illegal behavior. But this group, obviously this Facebook group is no longer up, and this isn't the first time. We've seen poachers breaking it up on social media, but it probably won't be the last. Facebook. Busted for poaching because you posted on Facebook. Oh man, the dumbest poachers of 2021. I don't know, dude.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's amazing to me that people short circuit when it comes to legal and not legal when it comes to hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
It's like because they can, they do. And it was 2 years ago, I was hiking out from a spot I'd been pheasant hunting, and I was walking across a cut cornfield, and 2 geese came in 4 minutes after time, and I let them fly over. And I kept walking, and their game warden was standing at my truck with his binoculars, and he said, "Oh, those geese, why didn't you take them?" I said, "That was 4 minutes after opening." And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I know, that's why I was watching you." And I laughed. I said, "Well, you just don't do that." And we're talking. Well, while we're talking, when you're saying that, a guy is coming over the hill with his pickup truck. And he slams on the brakes when he sees me talking to the warden, and slams it in reverse and goes back up the hill backwards 30 miles an hour. And the warden says, "Oh, we'll talk later. I got to go," and hopped in his car and took off. And the next time I saw the warden was about a year later in 2021. And I said, "Well," he goes, "Oh, yeah, he had all kinds of illegal geese in his truck that he had shot. But if he would have just driven by us, I never would have paid attention." But it's like short circuits because he knew this is illegal. I never should have done this. Oh, my God. And boom.
Well, and that short circuit, that's that, what are they? It's those 5 or 6 phases or stages of a hunter, where there just gets to a point where, there's whatever the shooting or limiting out phase. I don't know what exactly those are, but it ends with conservation as being, or giving back as the final stage. But I know people that are just stuck in that. They just want to kill something. And they do. It drives them to the gray area, which it should, obviously it's not gray, but a gray area of what's legal and what's not, and then they don't care. Or
Well, and I've said for years, I've called it posting numbers. It's not how you got it. It's not did you have fun doing it. It's not who you were with. It's all about 27 of this and 18 of that, and don't mention half of them are illegal. Never should have done it. It's that gotta prove instead of why are we even doing this outdoor stuff?
Yeah, Mike Hepner, our last guest. He talked about, and we weren't talking about illegal activity, but just posting numbers. We talked about what shotgun can reach out the furthest, and that the conservation part of that is, no, I know I can shoot something at 60 yards. I can shoot a turkey at 60 yards with the right gun, with the right conditions, whatever. But I want to see that challenge of how close can I get it, that kind of stuff. So posting numbers, yeah, you do. You see it, the limiting out, all of that kind of stuff. It's you do. Like I said, we have friends of our own that we know that do that.
But the drive, if you think about it, the drive to get likes and compliments on social media. I mean, isn't that they just want the fan. I don't know.
They want fan support. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Fan support.
So they'll do. It's like that guy. Was it last year, 2 years ago? Shot what could have been close to the state record here in Wisconsin, right here in Eau Claire County.
Yep.
And shot it on another guy's land, drug it across, shot it before shooting hours. But never once did he think, taking a picture of my grip and grin and posting it on social media. Never dawned on him, like, maybe I shouldn't do that. But
that's a whole nother episode when we get in. I mean, and I know Steven Ranella had it on one of his podcasts very recently, and was it him and his brother that debated, and just about like how that just the social media and all that kind of stuff has opened up Pandora's box of hunters and hunting, and just a whole different thing. So.
Well, and you said it, you just, commented all the dumbasses out there who ruin it for the 95% good hunters and only remember the bad ones, and the people only who are non-hunters and non-outdoor people will remember those yahoos who do that. And I've called them yahoos my whole life. They don't do it because they want to be a hunter or fisherman. They want it, like you said, for fandom.
Because they're watching the shows. They're watching. Well, okay. Let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the meat of things.
I see it.
So here's what we want to do. We want this episode to be for those who are listening who are thinking about buying a grill or a smoker for the first time, or specifically those who have been grilling and smoking and you might want to upgrade. You might want to kind of get your hands dirty with recipes and really do a deep dive and go further with your smoking abilities or your grilling abilities. So if that's you, then this episode is for you, and you're gonna want to stay with us here, because this is gonna be good stuff. Because we got Jimmy here to talk about this. Jimmy, just really quickly, how did you get into grilling? How did you get into smoking? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, that's everyone always asks, when did it start? How did it? Well, I've always kind of been a foodie, and I've always loved to grill and the tailgates at different events, everything from, Packer games to concerts to wherever you're at. And one summer back in the late 80s, early 90s, I decided with a couple people we were going to go on a little road trip and try barbecue around the country, and it went really well. And then the next summer we did some again and gradually started picking it up, and then started really noticing, because we're from Wisconsin, the Kansas City Barbecue Society in the center of the country is kind of a big national organization. I kind of got hooked up with some of their stuff. And the thing is, the big difference is in Wisconsin, a lot of times, just because of the weather, we're more of a grilling state than we are a barbecue or smoking state. We do a lot of both, but as you move farther south in the country, obviously they're much more hardcore on the overnight and the low and slow and 10, 12 hours. And I personally said, I like that, but I much more enjoy with friends setting up on the day of and getting everything going so it's ready by mid or late afternoon, or have it ready in the daytime, rather than having to be up all night tending the fire boxes and doing all the big pieces of meat, which is fun. It's great. Still do some. But most people aren't going to do that. And me personally, that's how I got into it. And ever since then, it's evolved into me running tournaments and judging competitions and doing a lot of things with friends and different people I know in the area. And
so again, for those of you listening, you heard Jimmy's little his resume earlier, and everything that you've done through Kansas City barbecue and all that kind of stuff. Everybody has their network. I call it a network. The guys or gals you call when you need something or have a question about something. We've done a ton of pheasant hunting together back when I still had dogs, but then it kind of turned over a little bit into food. And Jimmy, you're the guy the first guy I call if I got a question about food. Like, hey, I'm going to cook this weekend, or hey, I'm going to do that. So, and that's why you're here. But Aaron and I have talked about, like, not dumbing it down, but just there are many different types of grillers. I mean, there's I'm going to be just a competition barbecue guy. Mm-hmm. Okay, then there's the little Weber tailgate grill, and that's Jordan, my neighbor Jordan, and you worked with Jordan for a while.
Give me my brats, give me my burger.
Yep, and that's it.
Impress everybody with those.
Yep, and all that kind of stuff. Right. So, and that's why you're here, because I know you have a plethora of knowledge about kind of all that stuff and have some unique perspectives on it. So.
Well, and one thing I was going to say, just jokingly, the grilling and the smoking, the one thing about, you said my resume is, you pick up things. I do like to brag to people out of everything I've done. It's not so much this, it's about the grilling aspect. I've grilled over 50,000 brats, legitimately 50,000. I want to get a hat that says 50,000 on it. And I have proof. If people don't believe me, I can multiply it out, show you where and when and how at different events and different fundraising functions and all that kind of stuff. So the brat aspect and the grilling is just as fun as any type of barbecue or smoke. And I'll tell you what, everybody has had a really good grilled burger and a really bad grilled burger. There's a fine art to getting it consistently where people love it.
So let's start with smoking versus grilling. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. So for those of you listening that it's summer, I know all the stores, hardware stores, all that kind of stuff have just got all their grills and smokers in. Explain briefly that big difference between grilling and smoking.
Because if I'm new to this, I have to ask the question: what do I want to do?
Okay, well, really good, and that's what most people always ask, because most people know basics of grilling, but they don't know where to go beyond that point. And I tell people it's easy to remember this in any of this. I call it TNT, time and temperature. That's the thing you're always looking at when you do either grilling or smoking or barbecuing of any form. So one of my favorite chefs out there that you watch is Jacobsons, who's a god in the whole areas. He used to always say, especially with meat, the problem people have is they try to cook it in medium amount of time. Most meat has to be done quickly at a high temperature or slowly at a low temperature. and nothing in between really works. So when people say, well, I'll just let it go a little longer, you're kind of ruining it at that point. Or you don't let it go long enough to really break down a lot of the muscle fibers. That's the true difference between a grill and smoke, is the amount of the temperature, how high it's gonna be, and how quickly it's gonna come on and off. So for instance, I use the rule of thumb, most grilling is always under 45 minutes. It'll be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on what you're doing, at a higher temperature, whether it's gas, wood, charcoal, whatever it happens to be. And anything over an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours is gonna be more of a low and slow smoke or barbecue style.
Gotcha. Okay. Now so it's also now with the technology and everything, it's not necessarily an either or. You can get combos now too, right? You can get a both and you can kind of maybe, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but.
Well, and to spin off of what you just said, one of the things you have to say to yourself is, and everyone's going to be different on this, how much hands-on do I want to be with my unit that I'm using? Some people love the digging in the wood and the charcoal and adjusting and checking and having every 10 minutes, 20 minutes doing something. Others are, what is the least amount of work I have to do to put it out and make it quality?
Let me set it and forget.
And set it and forget it, like the old Ronco commercials used to always say, the infomercials.
Yep. But then you get like an offset or a reverse flow, and then it's just constant poking and prodding. And
That's one of the difference when you talk about the differences.
Jason Caldwell would like an offset something, or you have to be constantly poking and prodding that fire. He would not be able to handle a set it and forget it.
No.
Yeah.
So the first thing people have to really think about is, what are you going to be, what's your prime? So, you're going to have the brats, the burgers, the chicken breasts, the kind of that kind of stuff, and grills. And then you're going to have, maybe a crossover, or maybe something that's just strictly for smoking. So when it comes to those, let's start with, let's spend just 30 seconds on like that far smoking unit, like I was just talking about, maybe like the offset or the reverse flows, where it's fire on one end and it just draws the heat and smoke across the meat. Correct.
That's the one that they always call is the one that looks like you're smoking. It looks like you're at the old time barbecue pit. It looks like that. And ultimately, there's a lot of different name brands out there. Ultimately, you're going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $700 for one of those. Both the Highlander and the Longhorn, which are made by Oklahoma Joe, are in that range. They do a good quality job, but you're going to have to really gauge it after a while. You're going to have to play with the damper. You're going to have to play with the wood and the charcoal mix that you're using in there. Also, the less expensive the smoker is, usually the thinner it is, meaning it's not made very heavily, which means the temperature will vary, especially in cold, windy weather or rainy weather or damp, and you're not going to be able to just leave it because you're going to be adding and subtracting heat all the time.
So if you're listening, so an offset smoker is going to be something that looks like a grill or a smoker, and then with like a mini grill or smoker attached right off to the side. Like
usually horizontal, usually looks like a big tube with another smaller tube attached on the bottom, and at the top will be a smokestack, and the air is drawn through from the base fire down in that small box, through the grill out the main smoker. Good thing about it is you can usually fit a fair amount of things on it. Bad is you're going to have to mess with it a lot, and it's hard to get a good flow of smoke to be consistent, so everything tastes the same inside your smoker.
And they're not the type of thing where you're going to sear steaks on. So that's not a griller. This is a smoker. This is something that's going to really break down the fibers in the meat and really make it what a true barbecued meat
Pulled
is.
pork, shoulder, any type of brisket,
stuff like that. So let's go to the other side of that, and then we'll come back to the middle in between there. So let's just go. If you're just I want nothing to do with that. I just want quick, easy brats, burgers, chicken breasts, chicken wings, things like that. So you're just looking for a Weber gas grill or Weber charcoal or whatever. Just a
and here's what's funny when you say that. The one thing about gas, and personally, again, this is just me, I'm not big on gas, but I know some people need to use it just because of efficiency's sake and having to be in and out quickly. Charbroil makes a really nice one for about $250 or $300 that you can do a lot of things. Whether it's gas, charcoal, or wood, Stephen Reichlin from Barbecue U and a lot of the big time shows, one of his favorite sayings is the 3-zone fire, meaning however you set it up, whether it's on a gas grill or it's on a charcoal grill, you're going to have 1/3 of it with no heat, 1/3 with a little heat, and 1/3 with all of your heat. So no matter where you're at, you can adjust the stuff on there to less heat or more according to how quickly it's getting done, especially if you're grilling. Now, that's one of those with gas, you can obviously just roll it off to the side you don't have your burners on.
Yep.
If it's on the high heat side, that's where you're really singeing in those grill marks and you're really making it look pretty and really getting that flavor on the actual bar itself. Now, when you said Weber, it's kind of funny because Weber has taken its gas grill up way up to the Genesis series now. And the Genesis series are a $2,000 gas grill for the home cook.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Holy
I don't know about you, but my brats, I don't know if I need a $2,000 gas grill to do my brats and burgers on
Oh, shit.
at that point.
I'll use my air fryer.
Yeah.
It's just like
Right.
you agree.
Yeah.
But I bet you it's all stainless steel. It's
Oh,
probably
it's
pretty
top of
thick
line.
gauge.
It's as good as you're ever going
But
to want to
again,
get.
but you're always going to have flare ups with the gas grills
Yep.
like that. And,
Yep.
and I think for the most part, when you talk about just grill only, I mean, I know you can grill and with a lot of the crossovers, which are going to get into other fuel sources, but if you're looking for just grill only, you're probably going to be looking at propane or a gas grill. I mean,
100%.
the others you're going to get in. You can have a lot of
And just
different things you
a
can
quick
do.
hint off the gas grill, which some people will do or not do. If you want to get a little of that smoke flavor, get some good wood chips or wood chunks, wrap them in tin foil, get a couple of holes in there, and put it right down near that base flame. It'll combust in there, but it'll just give that nice flavor of wood without a whole lot of hassles. You can, after you're done, pull that little packet of ash out of there, throw it away. Easy cleanup, easy to do. You get a little extra wood flavor on a gas grill.
Yeah. And the thing with the biggest thing with the grills, and we'll just touch base on it, is just the burners. I mean, that's what a lot of the things you're paying for. Because the burners will burn out on those things so quick and so fast. I know I had the Holland grill. I was huge on that. It was just an on and off grill that ran at about 375. There was no temperature control.
Right.
But that was a cast iron burner. It was never going to go out. But that's the biggest thing with those when you're looking to purchase those is looking at the burners, because those are going to be you're going to probably 4 to 5 years you're probably going to need to replace a burner in most average propane grills.
And most people are going to have those on their decks or right on their back patios or their garage. They're going to haul them out. They're going to fire them up. They're going to get stuff in and out within an hour or less, and that's what you're going to do with them.
So
And that's what you're
basically,
using.
it's answering the question, what do I want to do, right, when it comes to this, and then from there figuring out what your budget is.
Right.
With the understanding though that yes, if knowing what you're paying for. And if you can spare a couple more $100 and you can get something that's going to be a little bit thicker, that's going to help control the temperature a lot better, kind of stuff. So,
And to go along with that real quickly, I look at it for the everyday person. Every $200 you jump, you're getting a couple extra features and benefits off of it.
Okay.
So for instance, the weight goes up in the actual quality. A lighter one, if you do higher temperature, like Adam said, it'll burn out quicker, but also the metal flexes a lot, and you have to buy sealant to go around some of the edges so you can retain the heat. And that's okay until that breaks down even more. And again, it's kind of a $300, $500, $700, and then you can take some jumps from there, is what you're looking at price range for most people.
So then we get into the big. I mean, we really haven't, and we won't talk about like the locker smokers, the Bradley puck smokers. That's you're getting into again, kind of the same concept of the offsets and things like that. You're trying to produce the same thing, just much cheaper, easier. Set it and forget it. But now that big group, the combos, and I know we have a couple grills sitting in front of us here that we're looking at that can do it all. But that's getting to be the attraction. Is the combo grills and smokers, and it makes sense because a lot of you, like I'll say Aaron, he's looking to just start getting your hands dirty, and do more things. So we have a lot to to talk about in regards to combo, but let's start with fuel first, okay? And we've talked about the propane, and I know we can add smoked propane with either packages of chips and stuff like that. But now when you get into the combos, now you're really talking about the fuel type's going to be your first choice. Like, what are you going to use? Is it going to be, we got charcoal, we got wood, we got pellets. I know you can still do the propane with some of the combos and things like that. So let's break that down first when it comes to those three different things from a fuel source. Charcoal.
Okay, well, when you're using charcoal, again, you're going to have a quick burn, which means it'll go quicker than most of the other types. You'll be able to keep it. Now, each type of charcoal ranges in price is significant. There's a lot of charcoal that might be 3 times as much as some of the other ones. The way they press them, the way they put wood chip or no wood chip in them really affects that. Personally, when you're trying to do something quickly, I like to use a basic charcoal with some higher end lump or wood chunk to mix in for a little better flavor and a little more retention of heat. Because a lot of the charcoals, hate to say this, marketing wise, they are made for a quick start, quick finish, in and out, which is great if you're doing something that's just 10, 15, 20 minutes. But if you have to do something like, big pieces of chicken on there, you might have to add charcoal 1 or 2 times. That all of a sudden, like Adam mentioned earlier when we were talking, your price goes up significantly just to do 1 family load of chicken or something like that. Yeah. Marketing too, there's no reason you can't figure out which ones you want to mix together. And it's a trial and error thing where, and I don't know if we want to use name brands, but I'll just call it the big K for right now. K is quick, it's efficient, it's easy, but it burns up quickly. Now there's another brand, RO out there, that used to be very comparable, and they said, we can't compete with their technology. We're going to kind of go for a lower, slower burn. So if you're going to have something out there and mix the two, you get the quick start, you get the long burn, and you take the advantage of both of the two in one grill. Now, the last trend in the last 5 to 10 years is Cowboy lump charcoal. Yep. And lump is great. Some people are intimidated by it because they might open the bag and there's pieces as big as your head in there. Yep. And you're supposed to throw it in your grill. Now, what do I do with this thing? Yeah. Well, again, that's where the mixture might come in. You throw some of your briquettes in from a well-known one, a couple big chunks of Cowboy lump, and now you get a good burn and a little longer steady burn.
And charcoal, we can go super freaking hot, but we can also go pretty low as well with it. So that's a big thing to know about charcoal, is it is pretty versatile. And I'll tell you this, with my very recent experience with my new Masterbuilt, is the lower you go with charcoal, if you're trying to add smoke, be careful because you can over smoke the crap out of it. I've had
100%.
pieces of meat. Because you don't need, especially if you go lump charcoal, people make the mistake of wanting to add more wood chunks to it. You don't need to. If you go lump charcoal and you're going at 225, my suggestion would be don't add any wood to it because you're going to get all of that. Plenty of that. So it's very versatile. So let's talk pellets. So the pellet grills, they're the big rage, and in pellets as a fuel, sounds like prices are going up. Prices are going up on everything, but I've got a couple friends with the easy bake ovens, as I call them, but that's their biggest complaint right now. I was like, holy crap, I bought this thing 5 years ago, and a 50-pound bag of this price has doubled in it just in the past few years. So tell us about those pellets if you can, Jimmy.
Well, and what's funny is, and not to be in the big marketing zone, but form utility is the way something is physically made and how you're going to use it. Well, pellets were the rage because that was the form everyone wanted to throw on their smoker, ease of use, have the auger drill it in, back in, set it, forget it. Especially people who are busy on Saturdays, they might do it in the morning, fire it up, ready to go by supper time, everybody's happy. Or if they do it quickly, ready by lunchtime. But again, everyone wants it, so the demand goes up, and that form of fuel, the pellet, is easy, and people are willing to pay for convenience. It's the same principle as when you go to a convenience store versus a main shopping place. You're going to pay double or triple. And pellet grills are all about convenience, like Adam just said. It's all about ease of use, and I personally will say the goal is to get a B quality product. if you get an A, awesome. If you get a B plus, awesome. But you shoot for the B every time you do it, and it will be consistently a B for you. The question is, can you get it up any higher? Can you get it up any better by using certain types of fuel, using certain types of flavors, using certain types of marinades or injections with the pellets? And that's the part that becomes a little tricky. And like we said earlier, how much time do you want to spend monkeying with it versus set it and forget it with the pellets?
And pellets will always have a flavor. I'll tell you that. Like, you can cook stuff on charcoal that it gets hotter. Even, I would say charcoal above probably 275 to 300. You kind of lose that charcoal flavor or smoke flavor. But pellets, it's always a Traeger always has a Traeger taste to the food.
Right.
I mean, there's always a taste.
It's kind of the pellet grilled item.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I hate to say, but and again, most of you out there aren't competing, but to take it to that next level, you've got to do some twists and turns with a pellet grill to really make it good. Now, most of you, if you get your product off there and you do the right time and temp, you're going to be happy with it. You're going to look at it and say, wow, this is really good. I really like it, and so do my friends. Awesome. But the question is, to take it to this is one of the best I've had, that's kind of tough sometimes with a pellet grill.
So, and I can just jump in with wood. I mean, wood, that's going to be a very select few that are only going to be using wood. It's going to be offset. It's going to be reverse flow. You might throw like a bigger chunk of wood on some charcoal here and there, but if you're going to solely cook or smoke, because you can do anything with wood from grilling to, my favorite stuff is just over an open flame of wood. Like, there's nothing better than just a burger or a steak or a pork chop over just some open flame. Like, that's
campfire with a TP.
Yeah, I love that. The campfire with the tripod with it. I mean, it's so good. But the big thing there is if you're going to be somebody that's going to get into that, where you're going to buy something like that, where it's a bigger, and I say bigger offset because the littler offsets, you're going to use charcoal, maybe with some wood added to it. But if you're going to go big offset, something that's maybe mounted on a trailer, you're going to need a wood supplier. I mean, you need to make sure you have a good supply of good quality wood.
It's funny you say that because when we were talking combo grills, my brother at his old place had a combo out on his deck. And most of the time he would fire up the gas portion of it for brats and burgers and things like that. But he did have the wood side, and he had a connection with a guy who did oak wood flooring. And the oak wood flooring, when he would cut to size, he'd have all these 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch pieces randomly that he'd throw in a 55-gallon drum. And he would give them to John. And you want to talk about one of the best steak cooking fires you've ever used. Oak flooring, humming along with just that red glow, and you could get the best sear and the best consistent heat, and it was so clean tasting, and like you said, just that clean wood burn.
So real quick story about combo grills. At our previous, at Jimmy's place of employment where he retired from, he had a combo grill, and Jimmy would always cook stuff, especially in the spring. There's like a greenhouse attached to his office, so so he had this beautiful, well, I shouldn't say beautiful, it was actually really ugly, but it was a combo smoker grill.
It was an old school.
But I don't even remember what you smoked that year, but you smoked something and started it in the morning, and the smoker happened to be just outside like the HVAC for the entire building. This building is enormous, and half of that building, it got sucked into the air exchange.
Oh, we had the best barbecue smoke smell you've ever smelled.
Oh my God, did it smell so good in that building?
But the one
unbelievable
office right next to there, she had to leave. She's like, I can't take it anymore. I smell like a giant barbecue rib.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sucked it all right through.
Everybody goes home from work and they're like, Glenn, tell me
where were you?
What's going on? Okay. So the other thing too is when you talk about picking out what you want to do, budget, the feature part thing, I'm just like, I'm floored. Like I have just the green egg, but the accessories that I can purchase now, Adam can run his Masterbuilt from work, so he can put something on at 6 a.m. and he can control it from his phone. There's accessories for my green egg that I can do it from wherever I'm at. I mean, that is just the technology right now. But I will tell you this, I'm the person who, for as much as that sounds cool, that's not the kind of griller I am. I like to sit in my lawn chair, drinking my bush, taking in the sun, hanging out with the family, neighbors, out front or on my deck. That's the kind of guy I am when it comes to grilling. But talk about just where technologies are taking this grilling and the smoking, especially somebody who puts on contests and does that.
Well, I'll tell you, there's 100 different ways to go with that. Like you said, personally, you can make it as simple or complicated as you want. I say most of the people right now that I know, whether they're serious or not as serious about it, they like to have a digital probe in there that they can at least check on their phone or on a system where they can either look on their laptop or their phone or their iPad or whatever to see what the temperature's at. Like we said at the very beginning, it's time and temp. And if you know you're running too hot, you gotta make sure you back it off a little. If you're running too cold, you gotta get that heat up there. It's all about staying in the zone. I remember, speaking of green eggs, I watched a team that had 6 green eggs at a competition here in central Wisconsin years ago, and they had probes on all of them in their camper with a line graph for lines to represent each of the green eggs they had. And all of a sudden, the red line would go, or the blue line would shoot out of the safe zone, and they'd yell out, number 4 needs heat, or number 6 needs damper, cool it down. So you can do that with those probes, but ultimately, on the unit itself will be a thermometer. The higher priced ones have quality ones. The lower priced ones are not real reliable. Anything under probably $300, you want to have something in the meat itself. And make sure, and like Adam, he likes to be able to be mobile, so I know he likes to be able to check his stuff regularly digitally.
Yeah.
So.
The biggest thing there is, maybe 20, 25 years ago, it's not as big of a deal because you know what? The cost of a brisket wasn't as much as it is now. You don't want to screw something up. You don't want either a flare up or whatever. That my biggest thing is I don't want to ruin the piece of meat. I don't care if it goes maybe cold, or your grill goes out, but I don't want to flare up or something like that. So I'm more concerned about monitoring the temp. And there's tons, and we won't get into that, but there's so many high quality, and that truly is the thermometers. You get what you pay for. You absolutely get what you pay for. But I think if you want to go $75 to $100, you will be very happy with it.
100%.
With what you have. If you go under 50 for a wireless, I'd be pretty cautious.
But wouldn't you also say that the number one accessory, no matter what, would be some form of thermometer that you can take the temperature inside the meat?
Well, one of the big ones right now is the collapsible ones that are literally hook on your belt, hook on your pocket, stick in your pocket, and you can pull it out at any time, and you'll get an instant read literally within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's the key for somebody who wants to be hands-on. As long as you know what your zones are going to be for the item you're doing, and anyone can find that online anywhere you want, but you can basically say, I need this to be at 195, or I need this to be at 145, or whatever it is. Bing, in and out, done. And that's where, to be honest, if you do a small amount of items, it's easy to control that. But the bigger amount, different sides, different places, different flow, it'll affect it 10, 20 degrees a lot of times. And some people go, I got a great piece. Some, that was okay, So you got to watch that on the actual layout of the items in your unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because every griller and smoker knows the hot spots, the cold spots. Like my Masterbuilt, I know that if I'm running it lower, the fan runs slower, so it's hotter closer to the firebox. If I'm running hotter, the fan runs faster, it blows the heat further away from the firebox. So, but I got the Thermal Pro thermometer, and it was 2 or 3 years ago. It was before COVID hit, and Thermal Pro had a coupon, like an Amazon coupon, it was like 99% off, some shit like that.
Oh, I remember that. You had all those pros. Yeah.
So it was like somebody lost their job at Thermal Pro because they forgot to put like one item only on whatever code.
I can't remember how many of them online.
Now, for those of you who are, I would highly recommend, I know a lot of people, I ordered 10 units, okay, and I got them for $10. And it was like $100 worth of stuff, and everyone's going to be like, oh, you're a bad person for doing that. You know what? But they're really good. So truly, I will buy Thermal Pro again. Whether or not it's a mix up with a coupon or not. I would highly recommend Thermal Pro as a good brand to purchase that.
And before we go any further too, I just want to throw in, we've gone around and around and around on a bunch of different layouts and setups and what's working. I've got to give some personal love to the Weber line. I'm a Weber guy. I've always been a Weber guy. And guess what? People are like, Weber guy? What do you mean? I say it's just like your favorite fishing rod, just like your favorite golf club. The Weber is dynamite for doing what you want to do consistently if you know how to
It's a
use it.
Zemco 33 of reels, right?
Yeah, it is.
So
It's the Zemco
so let's go there.
202,
Let's go
303,
brands
33,
then. If we're gonna talk, let's talk brands quick, and then we can kind of move on to the meat part of it. So brands. Let's talk propane, gas grill brands. Like if there's one or two.
Well,
you're
on
gonna
the state
think-
of propane, I said, the line of the Char Grill, Broil King, Broil Grill, those are all nice. To be honest with you, there's a lot of them out there in that $200 to $350 range, and they all pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah.
You've got to jump up, like I said, quite a bit in the gas line to really get a big difference. A lot of people like that stainless heavy. If you have, like, for instance, the Komodo line, the egg competition, they've also got a stainless one that they do, that's just kind of that middle of the road. That's good. But again, personally, it's about where you're going to keep it. Are you keeping it outside on your deck? Or are you going to have it in your garage? Are you going to have it exposed to the element? Is it going to be enclosed in a patio unit you have outside? A lot of people have to go with the higher end stainless. That's a little more expensive just for the elements.
Yeah.
If you have it in and out,
Well-
there's really not, unless, like Adam said, if you're going to use it a lot and you're going to buy a $200 baseline, charbroil grill, it's going to burn out in a couple of summers. It will.
Yeah.
You're just going to use it up.
And that's the other big part you just said is how much you're going to use it. Because I mean, if you're going to use this thing, so let's start there, Aaron. I think we pair the griller up with the brands as we talk about them. So we just talked, okay, charbroil, propane type grills. That griller is probably just going to be the grilling brats, burgers, chicken breasts, chicken wings once in a while. Probably not grilling a ton. If you're going to grill a ton 3-4 days a week, you're probably going to want a higher quality steel, thicker gauge, things like that. Would you agree with that statement in regards to what type of griller is going to want that basic propane, that basic charbroil?
And one of the other
type of
things on the
propane.
basic charbroil is, what are the grates actually made out of? A lot of them are made out of a composite metal that it really doesn't consistently heat and cool, and it literally will break on you. I've had many people with gas grills I know who end up with broken grates. You have to replace the grates. They're not made to last more than 3, 4, 5 years. They just aren't. As you move up, you'll get a higher gauge metal on the grates themselves. They're easier to clean. They're easier to prep up. One of the things with a gas grill that I've found is very important, no matter what line you get, you have to clean them with the brush, and you have to hit them with some oil before you go with your next item.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to put an onion down with oil on there. Some people use a paper towel. Some people have specific mopping units. It'll get the items to come off. It'll give better grill marks. And again, propane is propane is propane. As long as the temperature gauges are quality, or you have a quality temperature gauge, you can get the heat.
So that's propane, and again, probably a great quality grill for most people. I'd say so.
Charcoal. Let's go charcoal.
Yeah, let's go charcoal. I mean, and we're gonna get big here because there's a lot of. I mean, you got green eggs, you got Komodos, you got Masterbuilts. There's so
But the
many
really
Weber.
big name brands. That
Right.
people,
Well, okay, here's what's funny about it is Green Egg was founded, I believe, in the mid-'70s. All right, Komodo just came on in 2008 or 9. So literally, they're just in the market 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
So Green Egg had the market to themselves, but nobody paid any attention to them just because they weren't that popular, because they're heavy. They're super heavy to move.
Yeah, you're not throwing that in the back of your car and going to a
No.
game and tailgating.
And more people were taking things to go someplace or to be able to wheel in, wheel out. And that's why the basic gas grill or the kettle grills of Weber type styles were easy, because most of them are under $200, $250. You could come and go. The Green Egg, now you're up near the 4-digit mark on a lot of them, plus accessories, plus whatever. But if you're going to use it, the charcoal in there, the best part is You can save fuel because it keeps such consistent heat. The ceramic retains so much of the heat in it. So the lining in a green egg and in a Kamado, or the acorn style is what they're calling them, which a couple of them actually have names of acorn. There's one on the market, I'm trying to remember who makes it. It's like $209. They have a grill like that, which I haven't used it, so I don't know I can't believe it would do half of what an egg would do.
No.
But again, it's that principle of less charcoal, more heat retention, in a wind, in a cold, in the wintertime, if some of you are out there with snow on the ground.
God, yeah.
You
can't beat that.
can't beat that.
No way.
No, you can't use even a high-end smoker or grill accessory that'll keep it other than an egg.
The things to think about when you get into stuff with a green egg that I'll say in any of the acorn styles, it takes a long time to cool off. So if you're cooking really quick, if you're cooking some burgers and then you're leaving for the weekend or something like that, you're cooking lunch or whatever it is, that's going to take a while to cool off, and you got to remember that before you put that back in your garage or things like that. That's a big thing that I always talk about is propane cools off pretty quick. Shut it off, and within probably 15, 20 minutes, it's cool to the touch, and you can put it back away. Charcoal, that takes a while.
And me, again, a lot of my friends, I use stuff with them. I do things on different levels of charcoal and gas grills and wood-fired. And I enjoy the differences in all of them. But like we said at the very beginning, what are you using it for? Mm-hmm. For instance, me personally, I like to be somewhat mobile. Mm-hmm. I mean, Wisconsin tailgate grill tournaments are on mobile. You set up, you tear down, you got to go. And like Adam just said, if you're waiting a day and a half for the thing to cool down sometimes, it seems like you can't use it on the mobile type unless you're going to come back and get it later. So how quickly do you need to put it away, keep it to the side? That's going to be charcoal and woods unless you have a way to shovel it out, get that into a different area, whether it's a firebox. Some people have metal fireboxes, cement fireboxes. They just dump the coals in, dump the wood in, and they let it die. If you go to a big tailgate at a Packer game, a Brewer game, they'll actually have the cement bins to dump them in so you can put your stuff away quickly.
Yeah.
At home, some people like that. Now, that in itself is kind of a safety issue.
And a lot of that with the green egg, and the other, I guess, comparison then with the green egg versus maybe something, if you're looking at buying something, again, trying to bring it back to our listeners that are thinking about buying things. The other thing too is the green eggs, the acorn style, they're finicky, but once you get it dialed in, they're super efficient. You don't have to touch them. I mean, it's incredible how just an eighth of an inch on the vent, what a difference that'll make, but then then you don't need to touch it again.
Right. But the green egg, I know from experience, green egg is not a grill where if you are a brat kind of guy or just throw burgers on. I mean, they do just fine, but it's not something that you just hurry up, fire up, and throw brat. It'll take longer to cool down and warm up to cook your brats than it is to eat the brat.
And the other thing too is think about when you're purchasing a grill, think about who's going to be using the grill. Mm-hmm. The one thing I don't like about my Masterbuilt now is my wife Steph. But it's something that she's a little more intimidated to light up. Whereas the propane grill that I used to have, the Holland, she would fight and go light it up, and then she could maybe start dinner before I got home or whatever, things like that. And I would also say probably a green egg, and I'm not going to go there and say wives. I'm just going to say a novice griller, or if you're going to call your 17-year-old son or daughter to be like, hey, we'll be home in 45 minutes. Can you light up the grill quick? A green egg's going to be a little more difficult for that to happen versus a propane or something like that, a little more easy. So, okay, so we covered the green egg. The Masterbuilt, Aaron, I won't cover the Masterbuilt as much because we got a whole episode on that, right?
We have a whole episode here in a minute.
So, not as much on the Masterbuilt. Just know that the Gravity Fan series is taking off. It's there's a lot of questions about durability just because it's such a new technology. But I think you're going to see. I'm actually, Jimmy, hearing a lot about even offset smokers now going with fans to control the heat inside.
Actually,
been a lot
it's
less finicky.
surprising you say that. I had a guy last week who's going to be in one of my June tournaments ask me about electricity issues for his fan on his big offset, and he's got a mammoth offset.
Does he?
And I'm like, hold it. I said, it's got to be a mobile setup. He goes, oh yeah, we'll be there. I got the trailer and I've got, okay, most people aren't running that big a rig, but that fan is the hot tip now.
And the thing about the fans, especially on the smaller units, not those massive ones, but that fan isn't much bigger than a fan on a computer. So the nice thing is there are actually attachments you can buy and plug into something like a Milwaukee or DeWalt tool. Or battery, and you can just run it off a Milwaukee or DeWalt battery. So
Well, as they say, it's kind of like with cars. They don't make them like they used to, and more computers and more things. But hey, if you can control it a lot better that way,
yeah,
Right.
who wouldn't?
And that's a good point, comboing up what was just said. Like Adam just said about who's using it, where are you using it, and how often are you using it, and in what combination of things. If you can do, personally, I would say buy 2 lower priced units, not cheap, but in that $200 to $400 range, you can do a lot of variations with those. If you want to take the step up and get one of the 2 units being a little higher end, go right ahead. But again, like Aaron said earlier, even his use of the green egg becomes, I'm not firing that up for brats and burgers. I am going to use that for something when I bring 8 people over for chicken. Or I'm going to use it for something that I can get a little bit of a smoke flavor on.
Yep.
Some food for people. And those of you sitting out there who have 1s and 2s and 3s you're doing this for, sizes to the whole unit is key. You don't need some of these big rigs, you just don't.
Yeah.
Finally, what about pellets? Name brands.
Traeger's Traeger. The one thing with Traeger, I just know from experience, my friend Richard, who he is in the Shields Corporation out in Fargo. He's got a Traeger, which was one of the first ones that Shields ever carried, and the steel on that is just thick. It's beefy. It's built like a tank. He's had that for a long time. And then my neighbor has a Traeger, and his lid is already bent or warped or something just because he had opened it up and it dropped. So it just the thickness on the Traeger. But as far as name brands, I know I'm actually not too versed in the pellet grills.
I was going to say, Green Mountain is another one that a ton of people use.
I think Dan just bought a Green Mountain. But the thing with the Green, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go on my soapbox. The pellet grills, you probably shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor and you're back into your parking spots. Okay, so they're an easy bake oven. I tell you what, if I had the money, I wouldn't mind buying one. I probably wouldn't use it that much, but that's that. I don't know. Just grow up and get a real.
I know, and yeah.
I'll let Adam take care of all the comments that are coming.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but I'm sorry, it's like, can you please get the fish on the line, reel it halfway in, and hand it to me, and then I'll say I caught a fish.
Yes,
that's what I want.
That is so perfect.
And
I mean, there are shots fired.
You still
right
caught
now.
the fish. You caught the fish.
But here's the deal. That the pellet grills are going to be, as far as a combo grill, they are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, as in regards to plug it in, press on, turn a knob to a temperature, and walk away.
Right.
You can't get better than that in the grill market right now, if that's what you want. So those of you listening, if you are that person that has a $750 to $1,500 budget, and you want to maybe dabble in some pulled pork, you maybe want to dabble in a brisket, but yet you want to do some chicken wings and do some pork chops and chicken breasts, then it's a no-brainer to me. But yet you don't want to put in the time. You don't want to put in the time, then it's a no-brainer, because the one thing I'm going to warn you with this stuff though is you will never get a bark on that from a Traeger. I've tried to smoke a pork butt on that, and I just left it on there forever. You're never going to get an incredible sear from a pellet grill. You're just not. Now I've heard Traegers trying to figure out something on the side. Maybe they have. There was rumor that they were going to put like kind of a sear station off the side, but you're never going to do that with it.
I go back to my B comment earlier. If you want a B grade, you'll get one.
Yeah.
Every time. But if you want that A minus, B plus, that really good or excellent, it's just hard. It's almost
I
impossible.
would, I would almost, I would almost argue for the fact that I could take a pork butt and strategically put it on a propane grill with with packets of wood chips, and I could probably get a better bark on that than I would on a pellet grill.
No, I agree with that.
And
You
it
could,
just-
because you are more hands-on, because
Yeah.
you're going to check it, you're going to know it,
So
you're
it
going to be
just,
on top of it.
they're great, and I'm not saying don't get it.
Right.
If you're somebody listening, absolutely get it if that's going to be what you need.
And I'm just going to throw this in real quick off of that. Two things. I'm a big buy local guy if I can, and the national brands are national brands. There are some Midwestern companies out there that are making
Ooh, yeah.
some of these different units. Also, I'm a big fan of, speaking of charcoal earlier, I didn't mention any of the national, but the one I really like is called Grove. It's out of Cedar Grove, Wisconsin, and it's a local charcoal company. They're middle of the road price-wise, but the quality is really good, and I love the way the direction they're going. Also, a guy I was talking to, he knows a friend who's trying to put a pellet company together right now in Wisconsin to be able to make pellets in the same vein as any of the pellets that are being sold nationally. So be able to buy local, little less expensive, more customized to what people want. I joke because my brother, who lives up in Door County, Wisconsin, they've got a nice fireplace at their house, and he used to burn wood all the time. Well, now they have the compact pressed sawdust blocks that are basically a giant pellet is what they are. And they burn clean, they burn warm, they burn nice smell to them, easy cleanup. And the guy who invented those came off of it and said, I'm sick and tired of all the ash in fireplaces. Same thing with what Adam just said. You're still getting that pellet taste. Sometimes you're still getting a pellet feel. This is going to give you a little bit more customized is the goal. So we'll see if it comes out.
It's like I said, they're useful and they have a purpose. But what I can't stand is the pellet guys that want to sit there and say, "Look at me, I can make amazing pulled pork."
I was smoking.
No,
on
you can't.
Saturday.
You
I was
can't. Okay,
barbecuing on Saturday.
you can make very good pulled pork, and I've had very good food off of all of them.
Yes.
It's very good. But don't sit there and think that you're making competition barbecue off of a pellet grill.
Right. You're
Go
making what most people would
get a
consider
job.
good.
My
And that's
God.
fine. And that's what you want. Everybody's happy. Except for the two jerks like us. Right?
No, we
Everybody
just
says
there.
green landowners are snobs. Holy
I wasn't going to go on any tirade until you
Well,
got up.
I had to. I was just saving that up. But I think the 6'5" Creedmoor dig is a nice one, right? We'll get into that in a different
I think,
episode.
I think we covered that pretty good. We got to move on, or else we're gonna.
Okay.
YouTube's gonna cancel us.
Yeah.
Now everybody's gonna cancel. The pellet guys are gonna cancel us. Okay, let's get just really quickly because this episode is really geared towards somebody who's thinking about and doing some research on grills. But let's get to the thing that's gonna make us hungry now: the grilling and smoking. What is your favorite thing to smoke or grill? What is your when the
Depends on the week for Jimmy. Because
Yeah,
I tell you
okay,
that, he's always got something new. He's always got, you got to try this. You got to try that.
The one thing I will tell people is this. Some of the more basic things in life, if done well, if you look at high-end French cooking, it's really fairly basic ingredients, but they're done to perfection in certain ways. That's the same thing with really good grilled or barbecued food. You have to find the injection, the marinade, the seasoning, the sauce that you like, your family likes, your group likes, and zero in on it. Next time, just adjust one thing. You don't adjust 5 things at a time, you adjust one thing. For me personally, I've been hooking people for the last 6-8 years on pork loin ends. And what those are is when they chop the nice pork loin, there's ends, they're knobby ends. They look like softballs with some fat, some different gristle in there, lots of dark meat in there, and the fiber in there will break down quicker than a true pork shoulder will. So what that means is you can put it on a grill, a Weber kettle grill, 2, 3, 4 of them, however many people you have. One will serve 2 people easily, and if you have 3 or 4 of them on there, you can do 4 people, 6 people. You rub them down with a nice rub. You throw them on there. You keep the temperature fairly low, and within 1.5 to 2 hours, you pull it off. You pull it, you chop it. It's not a true pulled pork, but it's not a true pork loin either. A loin you slice. Shoulder you pull, this is a chopped, it's right in between. So you get the tenderness of a pulled pork, you get the body of a pork loin, and that can go 27 different ways with different sauces, with different spice of rubs.
But
it's very easy
It's
to do.
essentially pulled pork in an hour and a half to 2 hours rather than 8 to 12 hours.
8 to 12 hours, and that's why I love them.
I still haven't done it yet, but I went out to Woodman's. Woodman's has them, and they have them in these little tubes of 3.
Right.
And you buy them; they're really cheap
much are
too.
they? Yeah,
I
how much are
don't even know the cost.
You can get a tube of 3 of them for in the neighborhood of $7-8.
Because it sounds like the way you described it sounds like it's the meat nobody wants. Like, oh, they cut them off and then it's the ends. And
Quiet.
Yeah,
That's the way brisket started. And that's the way chicken thighs started. And this is what we've got as our secret. Another secret.
But in all seriousness, though, like if you are that maybe combo person that you're trying to maybe just dabble in something and you don't want to do an entire pork butt, just try this out because it's a much more low risk piece of meat.
It's low risk.
Right now.
It's inexpensive. You really can't screw it up if you temp it right. The thing about it is because of the different fibers in there, they're not going to completely melt down like a shoulder will, but you can pick around them and pull it apart and chop it up, and you'll love it. Throw a little sauce on your favorite. Throw a little marinade on if you want. It's really, really a good one. The other thing, I hate to say it, is the chicken thigh, if done correctly, the tournament chicken thigh.
Oh, yeah.
Too many people love to do their chicken strips and their chicken breasts and all that. That's great. That's fine. And most of you have kids out there, so those are going to be the go-to. But marinated chicken thighs in a nice salt brine with some flavors in there. You just throw them in overnight with some water, let them go for about a day, bring them out, hit them on the grill with your favorite seasoning and sauce. Kind of a quick sear, because that moisture in there, you can get a little smoke on there. Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
What's your favorite wild game?
You know, that's funny you'd say that because there's a category in the international, which I'm looking to judge. It's called exotic, and it can be any kind of wild game, everything from rattlesnake to snapper to whatever. But I want to take a team down in 2023, and I want to bring down some grouse breasts. And I want to do some smoked, grilled grouse breasts with a really nice seasoning and marinade on there. And for those of you who've never had grouse breast, take a chicken breast and put 3 times the flavor in it.
Yes.
Yep.
And everybody likes it.
Everybody gets all gung ho about pheasant, but I think that's more just because of the beauty of a pheasant. But grouse are two to 1 better than chicken. Even it is. There's no gaminess whatsoever. It's just all and that's just my opinion.
And again, those of you who want to do grouse breasts on a grill, just be careful. There's no fat on them. There's really no skin to speak of. So you're going to want to make sure that you get the right temperature and you get them fairly. And you
don't overcook wild game.
Don't overcook wild game on a grill.
Take it to the temp. Don't overcook it, man. That's what so many people do with wild game.
Like we said earlier, time and temp. This has got to be quick, short, and to the point. You get to that middle zone, that 30, 40-minute mark. Oh, it dries out.
Aaron, do you have a favorite to grill or smoke?
Steak. I just love a steak.
Yeah.
I just love
steak.
a good, juicy.
You're big into the venison steaks, and you marinate the shit out of them. They're good. They're very, very good.
We did at first because that was the only way, not the only way, but we would do that Worcestershire, soy sauce, brown sugar, olive oil, salt and pepper, garlic, and then marinate tenderloins, venison tenderloins overnight. And the kids, I would hardly even get any bite out of it because they would be gone. But lately, probably in the last year and a half, we've just treated our venison steaks like we would a normal steak. We just put our favorite seasoning on them. We cook them till they're about medium and pull them off. And that doesn't take long, like you said.
And that's a really good point, what Aaron just mentioned about the way you treat your meat on the grill or the smoker. One of the things you want to make sure of is the less fat content in there, the quicker it's got to come on and off. Yeah. If you have a lean cut of whatever you're doing, just remember it's got to be higher temperature and on and off. That's where the brine or the marinade could come in because that'll keep it a little moister. If you happen to go a minute or 2 or 3 over, it's not as big a deal. If you have a piece with a lot of fat and a lot of marbling, lower and slower, even on a Weber kettle grill, even on a gas grill, that's where the hours come in with that temperature, like Adam said, 225, 230. Keep it low, keep it slow.
Jimmy, one word answer, you can't elaborate. Brine or marinade?
One word.
Oh, that's really hard. I can't say
I
one
know
word.
I know there's a lot of what ifs, but one word. You got one word.
Now I'm going to quickly just say to people, a brine is more basic, a brine. Now, marinade can go 47 different ways, but a basic brine is something you have to learn, especially for chicken and pork.
So your one word is brine.
Brine.
Okay.
Brine.
All right.
Brine.
Cool.
Is it true that you don't have to cook pork as long as you?
Okay. So
you
can
told
can
me.
I talk? Can I talk about my favorite? My favorite.
oh, yeah,
My
what's your-
favorite is a good thick pork chop. That's my favorite. Grilled hot, and then but I also add some smoke to it, so it's still got a little bit of smoke flavor, and you don't have to cook pork now to that, because everybody hates the lean pork stuff and the loins because it's just chewy and it's dry and whatever. Boy, a pork chop, you just can't beat it. I love it on the charcoal. That's my thing right now that I'm into, that I'm just nailing.
Our
I'm just nailing
second
them.
week in June tournament, the third category off is boneless pork chop this year.
Yeah.
So
that's my thing right
it's
now.
so
But they gotta be
go-to,
thick.
it's so
They gotta be
basic.
thicker. I mean, not. And I know you can't get too thick on a pork chop either. It can't be like a tomahawk steak, but something in that 3/4 to 1 inch. 1
Yeah,
inch
you
is
can go
probably too
medium
much.
rare. Most people go medium on them, but that's
Yeah.
fine. You can.
Yep. But
Speaking of tomahawk, if you click right here, we got our tomahawk steak, $700 that Adam spent to grill on the 4th, and they looked good. He didn't even invite
I
me.
remember he gave me the breakdown shakedown of it. It sounded like a
good,
tomahawk
good,
special.
oh boy, that was. I don't. I mean, I want to do that again, but I don't. I mean, it was like I don't want to
So,
swipe my card for it.
Man,
That's
we,
for sure.
we covered a lot.
We did.
We covered
Yeah.
a lot.
This was awesome.
And what would be your go? I mean, if someone came up to you today who is dabbling in it, what would be your go-to tips and tricks for your average Joe, maybe even a beginner, someone who wants to get into it more? What would be your quick tips and tricks?
I would say learn a basic brine or marinade, which is basically going to be water, salt, possibly some type of sweetener, and then a flavor or two of your favorite. Check your seasonings and don't go with so many store-bought blends unless the first ingredient on there is not salt, because to less the quality or less the price of production on them, they fill it with 3/4 salt or half salt and then add some seasoning. All you're getting is a lot of salt with a little tiny flavoring. You use half as much of a good quality seasoning blend, or like a lot of the big time people do, make your own, and there's a ton of them on the internet. Thirdly, I would say make sure that your unit, you know the temperature on it. You know when it's set at a certain degree, this is what I'm going to do for chicken, this is what I'm going to do for pork. This kind of pork will be here. This steak needs this. And make sure you have a safety area that you can get it away from. If something happens, you get called away and the cat fell off the deck or whatever, and you're over there running around, that you can get it to a safe zone and it's not going to fry it to a crisp or have it in a bad situation.
I think, and you know, we've seen it, and I'll call out Dan just because I like calling out Dan. And Dan, here you go.
If you're watching, Dan.
He won't listen to this, but you're as somebody who's getting into it, you're probably gonna get on Facebook groups and you're gonna do this and that, and you're gonna hear 9 different rights and wrongs, and you're wrong for marinating and you're wrong for brining, and this is the best seasoning, and Meat Church is the best, and this is the best, and no, you're wrong. Bottom line is, I'll say for a general rule of thumb, salt, pepper, and garlic, start there,
Can't go
and then
wrong.
make it your own, whatever, or just anything. I don't care what it is, but just find out what you like.
You get the Franklin special going there.
Yep.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah, Franklin down in
Aaron
Austin,
Franklin,
Texas.
my boy.
He loves his salt and pepper with maybe a little garlic, maybe not.
Yep, in that Central Texas, holy crap, the pepper, oof, that'll put some hair on your chest. That
know
type
it.
of pepper, my
Right.
God. But seriously, you're gonna get into debates and all this and that. And I did that. You get way up here and you want to try all these million different things, then you come back to some basics.
Right. Start basic, and like Adam just said, and add one thing. Add a second thing the next time. Don't add 5 different ones, because you don't know what part of it made it better or worse. And you're like, I'm not doing that again. Well, 4 of the 5 things you added were great. The 5th one was the killer. You don't know which is the 5th one. So keep it simple.
Yep. So find the grill or the smoker or the combo that you think fits you. Get to know it, use it a lot, and then hone in on that basic recipe that you know is kind of kind of that home run go-to one that you have it memorized. You don't need to have your phone out, and you don't need to be mixing but that you can go to and just
really memorize temperatures. Temperatures. For instance, anything between 125 and 195, depending on the item. 5 to 10 degrees is a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Very big.
So get to know temps. And once you get that magic temp going, you'll be there every time.
But the biggest part is have fun.
Have fun.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, you got to make it the way you want it. You got to make it what you like.
All right.
Well, hey, it was a 4 White Claw episode.
4 White Claw episode.
I mean, a one
White Claw
One White Claw
I
episode.
had to go to the bathroom really bad. Holy cow. So, well, there you go. Thanks for listening. We hope you learned something. And if you did, if you laughed and you learned something, it would be awesome if you just hit the like button, maybe share this episode with somebody who you know might be looking for a grill or a smoker. And again, subscribe if you haven't yet. We would love for you to do that. We're on our socials as well, Instagram, Facebook. A lot of info we're putting out there. And we just hope that this helped you as you're deciding what to do for this summer and getting out and grilling for all the people that you love and enjoy eating. So big thank you to Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, thanks a ton, man.
Thanks for having me.
Episode. That was
Hey,
Oh,
it's a
yes.
good time. We might have to fire up the grills.
Yeah.
Fire up the grills.
And I do got to I always, for some reason, and I know I'm getting to the point where please never stop asking me to get in one of your competitions. I want it so bad.
I've told you,
I've
brother,
never
you
been able
gotta
to.
get in.
I've never been able to. It just
get in.
always. I promise you, I'm not making excuses. It's just always awful timing. First off, the one in September.
Proof is in the pudding, people. Proof is in the pudding.
The one in September is always when we cut wood out at the cabin. So I'll probably never be able to make the Hobbsies one. But I want to get into one so bad. They sound like so much fun. So thanks a
You kind
ton.
of have to redeem yourself because the last one you were in, the judges said it tastes like orange chicken.
The ribs tasted like orange chicken.
Orange
They said
chicken.
one judge said that.
That's
Wow.
not good.
No, I know. That
We'll
was-
get there.
Whatever.
All right, okay.
Good talk.
See you out there. Thanks for tuning in. Later.